Do you have a grumpy snake that came to you? You were told it was pleasant, it was eating frozen thawed, and super friendly and handleable, and when it gets to you, it becomes a demon, and you can't handle it, and it doesn't want to eat, and it just wants to do a little bit of that to you? Let's talk about it. All right, so it's that time of year where people are getting their baby snakes from breeders and have been for quite some time. And a lot of times it goes quite smoothly, and sometimes you get something you didn't expect. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you that animals will change personality quite a bit in shipping. Just for whatever reason, shipping seems to cause a lot of changes in feeding behaviors, personality behaviors, and those can sometimes be temporary or long-lasting. But you can certainly work through them. And I want this video to be informative on some of my thoughts on why this happens and what you can do to maybe work with that animal and get them out of that little funky spot where they just don't like you and are not the friendly snake you thought you were getting. So I figured I probably have a few babies in here. Being a breeder, these are not just pets. These are animals that I'm, producing and then taking care of, and I've got more than a few here. So I don't always have the time that a pet keeper would to socialize every single snake. But if you spend a few minutes with them in consistency pretty regularly, I'll show you what you can get out of an animal that even started out biting me like this one. And this one's normally pretty bad. See? Ow! All right, let's talk a little more with a different animal. So first of all, before we go too further with this, I want to say there are some tools you can use to help facilitate working with an animal that keeps you from getting bit, to like little snake hooks. You can use gloves. There is no shame in using any tool to your advantage. If your goal is to socialize a snake, try and get it to calm down, prevent eliciting stressful and adverse behaviors, and take it like a training session. So essentially, this is how to train your snake. How to train your dragon snake, but it's not a dragon snake. Anyway, snakes can sometimes be wonderful babies with a breeder like myself, eat well, have wonderful attitude, cause no problems. And then when we ship them to you, something in transit, just a switch flips, and they decide they don't like things for whatever reason. It's generally temporary. And if you think about it from their perspective, it makes a little bit of sense. They've just been taken from their home, the only world they've ever known, all the familiar creature comforts, literally, and they've been put in a container, shipped somewhere, had a stressful 18 to 24 hours, hopefully low stress, but it's inevitably some stress. And now they're in a completely different environment with new smells, new surroundings, new people, new routines, everything. So there's a lot to adjust to. Snakes are creatures of habit, as am I, so you've got to imagine it takes them a little bit of time to sort of work through that. Anytime I sell somebody a snake, especially if it's their first time with a carpet python or any snake for that matter, I generally advocate for letting the animal adjust to its enclosure for a few days, give it a meal, make sure it's eating and comfortable doing that before you even start handling it. If you can, try and replicate how the breeder was housing that animal beforehand, but that's not always a hard, fast rule. I've sent babies to individuals who put them in 4x2x2s and they ate the very next day. So there are always exceptions to the rule. And don't forget, these snakes don't play by the rules. They rewrite the rules all the time. So just try and think outside of the box and be open-minded. If you ever have troubles, the best thing you can do is reach out to the breeder and work with them a little bit. If they're an ethical, great communicative breeder, they should be able to give you all their insights, tips, tricks, and kind of walk you through this as needed. So let's look at a baby and talk some more about this entire topic. So our wonderful volunteer, is making a great statement today. some babies aren't necessarily even friendly with the breeder right off the bat, and some need working with. Now, oftentimes these babies are generally the best feeders, but I've had some that are so high stress, they just won't eat. They're just too stressed about my presence, things like that. This is not one of those animals. This animal is happy to eat, but hasn't quite figured out that I'm not here to hurt it, and that, you know, hanging out with me can be a good thing. But this is a little baby, and this animal still has its survival instincts, even though you could argue all day that they're domesticated animals. This snake still thinks I'm a potential threat and here to hurt it, and this is what it needs to do in the wild to survive. So we're going to cut it some slack, but we're going to try and think about it the way this animal does. A predator is going to come from overhead, most likely, so we're not going to ever approach this animal from overhead. We're going to come from below, and yeah, it's still going to bite us, but he's really thinking. He's really thinking, and that's the goal there. You want to see lots of tongue flicking. I know, you're just grouchy. You're just being real grouchy right now. And you just want to really spend some time working with them. Oftentimes, new points of contact physically will elicit a response. So I will, you know, even try and, if I need to switch hands, blend contact from an existing point of contact to reduce the startling nature. Oftentimes, your warm breath can elicit strikes, as we've been seeing. If it's cooler in the room and your hand is warm, or the snake hasn't eaten in a bit, all of these things could be reason it could be reacting, or it could just be a nervous little baby and it just needs time. The best part about it is these little guys don't hurt when they bite. Ignore all the lizard scratches on my skin. Those are from lizards, but like that little recent one there, I mean, that's it. It, you know, and I wipe it away and now it's gone. I swear those are lizard scratches. I play with monitors at work. But it really doesn't hurt bad, and the more time you put in with them when they're little like this, the better they're going to be when they're older. You certainly don't want them biting you when they're older, but they have a lot more confidence when they're at that age. Think of it like a training session. Start small and build up. Shorter sessions, try and keep it positive, end as positively as possible. Let them voluntarily go back into their enclosure. But if you're worried about getting bit, put some gloves on. Go get some of those little, you know, $5 ones from 7-Eleven or whatever. No shame in the game. Whatever it takes for you to work up the confidence to then build some trust with your animal, that's what it's going to take. And the key is when you see the animal thinking and doing something else other than focusing on you and trying to bite you, capitalize on that. Let it be positive. If it's the first time you're handling it and it starts doing something calm, then put it back in at that point, even if it's only been a minute. End on a high note. Reward it for calm behavior. Think of it like that. These snakes learn from experience, so the more you teach them things, the better they'll get. And I promise this little stinker who is available will calm down in time, because he's going to be so beautiful and somebody's going to be willing to put in the work. They also grow confident with time and age as well, just as a virtue of kind of learning life. You okay, buddy? You are so grouchy. I love you. For those who don't believe me, these are lizard scratches. Anything fresh was from a little nick of the snake, but little baby water monitors have sharp little claws. So snake teeth are far less formidable, especially when they're little. But now I wanted to pull out an animal that's like 2 years old, a little more than 2 years old. Started out really grouchy, never really broke from it. In fact, seemed to have a ferocious taste for vengeance after me for whatever reason. Just did not like me bringing it into the world, I guess. And here we are 2.5 years later, and I've gone up and down from spending a lot of time with it to leaving it alone to putting it in a smaller enclosure to putting it in a bigger enclosure. And now we've kind of found some progress points, and it's been really rewarding. And I'd like to show you this animal because we are still not perfect, but this is just a great example of how just sometimes it's just time. Sometimes that's really all it takes, time and patience. So let's bring him out. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to this guy here. He is a beautiful, beautiful poplin carpet that I produced 2.5 years ago from Red Man paired to New Girl. He's getting a little bit darker for the winter, and he's a little bit confused why he's out, because we spread out our handling sessions quite a bit. This guy used to really make it a point to strike at me defensively anytime I was cleaning, checking on him, no matter what it was. And after just kind of giving him a lot of space and a lot of time, upgrading his enclosure, letting him kind of chill, realize that I'm not in his business. He took a lot of time, but he rarely tries to bite me. Now, I'm not as careless and just flipping and grabbing him, you know, freely all the time. I'm very deliberate with how I approach him, when I approach him, the speed at which I move around him, things like that. And it's all just furthering this rope, this thread of confidence and trust that we're building here. And this, now, like I said, he's not perfect. Sometimes he gets a little nervous if something touches him. As you can see, he hasn't found an anchor with his tail, so he isn't 100% confident. He is still a little tense. So I'll make a new point of contact with an existing one, try and get him thinking. Once you get them thinking, it's where you're really going to lose that tense, like figuring out if they need to hit you or not. And then you get to really admire their beautiful colors instead of getting bit. Now, obviously, this is a very extreme case. I would argue that less than 10% of the carpet pythons I produce require 2.5 years of patience, okay? So I don't want this to deter anyone. Most of them, by the time I'm sending babies to you, are sweethearts. But like I've said, sometimes that shipping can change things. So if they're going from a baby enclosure to something big and it is a hurdle for them, just be patient. Work with them, go at their speed, break things down into little baby steps, and you should be able to kind of figure out where their line is, what sets them off, and avoid it, and then work up to that and build tolerance and trust between you and that animal. It's another reason why I always recommend starting with a baby versus getting an adult, generally. Well, that wasn't planned, and I gotta say, should have seen it coming. But if I was on your side of the camera, I would have, but I wasn't, so I didn't, and it happened. And here we are. Note to self, hold snake further away from face. Duly noted. Learn from my mistakes. Now back to the video. All right. Noted. He's still not perfect. Sorry, bud. I hear you loud and clear, man. I guess I got a little too close. Oh, yeah, you got me. Well, not the first time, and I hope it's the last, but let's be real, it's probably not. Fortunately, I will say, babies and juveniles do this. Adults, very rarely. At least he's pretty. All right, so we're gonna end on a wonderful success story here. This is a female that I hatched out about 5 years ago who was not very friendly, and now I can just kind of go in and scoop up as needed. Obviously, all carpet pythons have a feeding response after dark. I don't care how friendly they are. Once it's evening, they know. But yeah, this girl was not friendly at all for years. Didn't matter how much I handled her. I went on breaks of giving her time off and periods of really working with her, and she just needed to be left alone and to grow up and mature and just kind of get over whatever she needed to get over. And here she is, and she's wonderful. And actually going to be breeding her this season. So with any luck, we'll make some F2 wonderful poplin carpets with Redman and this beautiful girl, his sister. And yeah, she's a great testament to just a little bit of patience and reading the snake and figuring it out. Not every snake is going to be difficult, but then again, not every snake is going to be an angel right off the bat too. But if you like the animals, they're worth it. So on that note, I'm going to leave you all. Check out my sponsors, Reptile Husbandry Designs, formerly known as Heligai Serpents. I will have all their information below. They are slowly doing all the name changing, shifting stuff on social media. So look up both Heligai and Reptile Husbandry Designs. The website's active. Their Instagram is still active. So you can find all of that stuff still. Don't forget to check out Reptiles Express if you're squeezing any last minute shipping in this week. Kind of the last week before the cold comes in and holidays. So get your last shipments in safely and ship with the best, Reptiles Express. If you want a discount, use code Riley50. Get 50% off the traditional FedEx rates. They're going to hook you up. They're going to take it down. Their rates are already low, and they're going to take them down even lower to get you the best possible rate possible. Using that code, 10 labels per customer. So use it up. Use it 10 times. You get it. So save you some money. Their sister company, Premium Crickets, is out there hitting all the shows of the East Coast. They'll ship feeders to your door. Amazing company, doing good stuff. Kind of changing the game out there. It's a pretty great idea. Go show them some love. Use code Riley15 to get you 15% off at checkout. Don't forget to become a member of USARK and USARK Florida. If you are not, membership means a ton. Even if you can't donate money, just become a member. The numbers really make a difference. They are the only body of folks working to kind of fight undue lobby and legislation against the reptile hobby. So they're active. They're starting to get involved internationally, and they're amazing. So the least we can do is support them. Go become a member. And if you'd like to support what we're doing here, you can check me out. Just Riley Jimison on patreon.com. Patrons get awesome perks like discounts on merch, access to babies early, inside scoop, and a whole lot more. So go check it out if you want to join up. I'm a Discord member, part of the fam, and yeah, have some fun with carpet pythons because I'm not obsessed or anything. But yep, that's going to be it for me this week. That's your weekly dose of carpet pythons here on YouTube from Riley's Reptiles. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys next week. Breeding season's coming soon, so save your shekels. It's going to be a good year. Later.